Greg Nicotero, who is the N of KNB EFX Group, came to me and he handed me a script and said, "This is Robert's next film." We were fully expecting it to be Spy Kids 2. He's shooting a film before Spy Kids 2? Oh my gosh. And when did we start shooting? Like in a couple of weeks. He goes, "But don't worry, there's not that much in it." So we started reading it going, well, wait a minute. Well, there's
dog ear,
this.
dog
and,
ear.
Yeah, dog ear, dog ear. So that it just became, you know, just quick and dirty as quickly as possible.
Action! All right, walk away. Fantastic, folks.
In 1988, myself and two other makeup effects guys, Howard Berger and Robert Kurtzman, founded a special effects makeup company. We were fortunate enough to have worked independently on films like Predator and Aliens and Evil Dead 2 and Day of the Dead. It just got to the point where the three of us sort of joined forces and started our own prosthetics lab. We sort of got into it right at the right time because of the fact that the late 80s was sort of the heyday for the makeup effects field. Nowadays, it's of course quite different because the flavor of the month is CGI effects and high definition digital. I had been fortunate enough to work on every one of Robert's pictures since From Dusk Till Dawn. We did The Faculty, we did all the Spy Kids films. It was very symbiotic. He would just sort of say, "This is kind of what I'm thinking," and then I would go off and create what he had in mind and show it to him, and 9 times out of 10 he would say, yeah, that's exactly what I wanted, or let's play around with this a little bit, or what do you think of that? When Once Upon a Time in Mexico came up, it was literally an email from Robert saying, "Here's a list of the gags I need."
Greg had talked to Robert, I think again after Spy Kids 1, about starting this show really quickly because he had some prior commitments to shoot Spy Kids 2 soon after that. And I know that this was going to be a training ground for him to start shooting on high-def digital video as well. And I think also too he wanted to try to get back to when he started doing films to see if he could shoot something that quickly under that sort of schedule and time constraints.
And we just had a few weeks to put a movie together, and it felt like mariachi again. It felt that visceral, that exciting, and that potent. And I assembled my crew, and I said, we're gonna go to Mexico, and we're gonna shoot. We're gonna use mostly Mexican crew. I'm taking a few key people down. I'm not taking a director of photography because they don't know how to shoot digital. I'm gonna have to shoot it. No production designer, I'll do the production design, just like on mariachi. And they said, we don't have time. We can't be prepared in 2.5 weeks to shoot a movie.
How are we gonna prep this movie in 3 or 4 weeks? How's this gonna happen? But Robert was at 90 miles an hour, and he was so anxious to try out what he had learned about the high definition stuff that there was literally no prep on that film because we were prepping it as we were going. Robert is the most hands-on director that I've ever met. If he had the time, he would probably handle every department if he could, because in his mind, he knows what he wants.
I said, guys, this is a creative exercise. If something doesn't arrive, if you don't have something ready, I'm not gonna bark at you, I'm gonna think of a way around it. That's how I did mariachi. That's what makes it beautiful. And we're gonna come up with something really unique.
Okay, so let's everyone step back. We're bringing in the fake arm. Don't need that back, go back inside.
There was a lot of different concepts of the Sans arm gag. Initially, we wanted it to be something where he could fold it up, roll it up quickly, and shove it in a suitcase.
Originally, it was going to be a lot more technical looking. It was going to have, you know, valves, and actually we'd spoken with Steve Joyner, the props guy, and he even suggested, hey, we'll make it like a blood pressure. You know, did you pull the bulb on there and the whole 9 yards? And so we'd gone through all this rigmarole and building all this, and then we talked to Robert. Robert was like, no, this is like something he threw together himself. And he goes, you know, I think he should have a black glove over the hand, and he should have a long jacket. So instantly it was like, okay, we can kind of ease off here and get a little low tack.
So often when we're dealing with actors, they're always referred to as, oh, Sand's arm, or this guy's arm, or this guy, Marcel's head, or because you never know who the actors are until the last minute.
It's for illustrative purposes. I was over in France, and they had asked me to draw a tracing of my hand and my arm up to, a certain point. So I had to draw it, be as precise as possible, and then fax it.
So they faxed over an outline of Johnny Depp's arm because we couldn't get a live cast at the time. And my hand actually matches his hand, so from that they made a live cast of my hand, and that's what you see in the movie.
The most challenging sequence was when the waitress spills coffee on his arm, and it was supposed to deflate. But again, impromptu in front of camera, Robert just thought of a better shtick, a better thing, and just said, you know what, I don't want to go there. I want to do this instead, which happened to be Johnny standing up with the arm, flailing around, firing at people.
I knew I had another round in here.
He didn't think it would be as dramatic. It was just as, deflated. He wanted the big arm out there, just, winging around. So it just changed the entire nature of what we were doing, and we ended up not even using the inflatable arms at all.
It'll help.
We're cutting.
The Cheech dummy was made back here in the shop, and I believe they had a head cast of him from Dusk Till Dawn. The toughest thing actually was trying to get the likeness right, because Cheech was going to go down to Mexico the day before we were going to shoot this dummy gag, and we didn't know what his hairstyle was going to be. We didn't know if there was going to be any facial hair. So we were literally on pins and needles waiting to see what Herman was going to do with his makeup. And Cheech ended up having long hair on the thing, and they gave him quite a tan.
Just tell me you love me.
At the last minute, we ended up really having to do a quick paint job on the thing, modify it quite a bit. It's a little different when you're doing prosthetic versus, corrective makeup, because with regular or corrective makeup, you're trying to eliminate the imperfections. With prosthetic makeup, you're trying to add imperfections to make it look a little bit more real. Herman had some makeup that he had loaned us that was pretty dead on. I was able to get a good base down to look close to Cheech's own color. And then with that makeup applied on top of that, we got a pretty close match to what he actually looked like on set.
I think the most rewarding was bullfight day, where we built a dummy of a matador.
The idea was that we would make a dummy of the matador for the hit, and subsequent goring by the bull.
Once we got down there, we kind of had to wait for the matadors to come by and submit the wardrobe to us. And we didn't know who the matador was going to be, so we had a generic face on there, and when we saw the guy, the best we could do was try to match like eyebrows and skin color and keep it in the same range as what he actually looked like.
It was literally shot in a real bull arena in Mexico with a live audience.
Please. I'm here all week, I swear. Anyhow, we're going to smash this dummy with a real bull.
We actually had a pipe in the ground with a dowel coming out from that went through the bottom leg of the matador. And we proceeded to position the arms that the red cape was right in front of his body. Well, the matadors were coming, no matador would have it in front of them. We know that, but if we had the cape off to the side there, it would just spin like a top right there.
One of the things the matador said when we brought the dummy out was the crotch isn't big enough.
He was complaining about
The absence
of his package.
Yes, he was.
He was really upset that we had not endowed him.
Their social status is very high in Mexico. And the guy, all the matadors all kind of stood around looking at the dummy and laughing, and they were all gesturing towards the crotch because he felt that it needed to have some stuffing put in there to be as realistic as possible.
They released the bull, and it went right for it and just sent it into the air.
In Mexico, when they do bullfights, the crowd is cheering for the matador, not against the matador. So to have the bull run out and take this matador dummy out, the matadors were a little concerned that the audience reacted so positively to the matador getting trampled. When I initially read the script, there was a scene that required a dead body, and the dead body had been flayed. The skin had been removed from the face. The first step for that was designing it, doing some sketches to get the director's approval. Once that was done, we created a clay head, and our sculptors actually sculpted the clay away to simulate the missing flesh. So once the sculpture is done and approved, we literally make a two-piece plaster mold on it. And in that case, we created a silicone skin, which is an extremely lifelike skinning material that we used to simulate human flesh. And then the seam is trimmed off and it's painted. Because the area around the eyes was not flayed and cut away, but the skin was still there, we punched little hairs in to simulate the eyelashes, and we painted the eyes on, and then we, on set, just dressed the blood into the little crevices to make it look like it was fresh.
The post-op scene of the plastic surgery was actually shot in a surgical theater. And they ended up having us go through the whole sterilization process where we had to submit our equipment to this thing where they ran it under some sort of ultraviolet whatever to try to kill germs on it, which included all of our fake blood and chicken skin, which is what we actually used for the skin flaps that were hanging off.
And there was another room where they were actually cutting someone's arm off in surgery. And here's us with this fake head and our makeup kit and fake blood.
Once we got into the surgical theater there, we set the dummy out and we proceeded to start gluing skin around the perimeter of the face.
We attach the strips around the edges with all the hemostats, and we dress it with a little bit of blood. And again, we're in this sterile emergency room operating theater. And Shannon or Jake said, "What is that?" And we look up, and there's like a fly.
Here were a couple of flies buzzing around, and it was like, oh no. I hope it's just they had a fondness for chicken skin and not anything else.
At one point, they had us dressing fake blood in the hallway.
Yeah.
I mean, they were shooting. I was thinking, boy, this is a hospital, and there are guys running down with machine guns going, dot, 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 dot. Hey, can you guys put more blood on the walls?
Everybody wants to do it. Everybody wants to sign your name.
Later on, it's revealed that Willem Dafoe's character was not the person that we saw on the operating table, but a double. So there was some talk about doing a big prosthetic makeup on him where his eyes were revealed enough that you would see remnants of the plastic surgery and some scars around his eyes. And Robert said, no, we don't need to, but I want to do something sort of Invisible Man, Dark Man-ish, where he's got this hood of bandages. So I said, well, that's cool, because we did a couple of the Dark Man movies, and the way that we did them was we took spandex hoods with the zippers up the back, and there was bandages that were actually glued, so you could put them in the exact same position, and then pull the spandex hood over and Velcro the back and add a little bit, and it was done. So you didn't have to wrap the actor every day.
They wanted to have something around his eyes to make it look like puffy, that they had been through some sort of operation. Due to the time and what we were really seeing once that mask was on, we ended up switching it to just some sort of a discoloration and bruising around the eyes. Working with high definition equipment was a pretty big change for us. Usually what they'll do is they'll shoot it on film. You'll wait for dailies or rushes and look at them the next day to see if there's anything that you have to alter. That doesn't happen. What you see is what you get. And they supplied a monitor there that was color corrected that was exactly what you were going to see. So you would look at that monitor and that was it. There wasn't, it was good in a way because you could make corrections immediately. On a prosthetic level, it was very different because with film, there's a little bit of leeway in that you can get away with some things that might get a little fuzzy or something once the processing has taken place. But with digital, that's it. There's no fudging around on that one. Also, too, they were able to shoot a lot lower light levels than we were used to. So we would look at something and think, boy, this is really too dark to shoot. But wasn't that case at all. So it kept us on our toes.
One of the most difficult challenges is having a prosthetic that blends off seamlessly. And you sort of understand that, well, it's film, so it's, we have certain liberties that we can take. We can overcolor a certain way, or we can rely on highlights and shadows to mask edges and things. All those rules that we've spent years and years following are now thrown out the window. Now the reds are red and the blues are blue, and if you have a prosthetic, you have to color it to match what it looks like to your eye versus how it's going to film. We realized after a little bit of shooting that it really increased the vibrancy of everything. Prosthetics-wise, you didn't have to punch up the color and you didn't have to overcompensate because of the concern that film would flatten everything out, because it didn't. It was just there and that was it. I think that there will always be a need for prosthetics. There will always be a need for character makeups and creatures and props and fake bodies and things, because there will be a backlash, as there always is. People will get sick of seeing computer effects.
The blood and guts films can be fun sometimes because you can get away with murder, no pun intended, but it's not as exacting as you would have to do with, say, like a character makeup or creating a monster sometimes. But they can be pretty fun, especially with this because it was such an all-out bloodbath on a lot of stuff.